If you were hit by a big truck, a smart car, or anything in between, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12671. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Cut through the static and listen to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge in high definition. Simply tune to 98.1 and select HD2. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Friday. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Hope your Friday is awesome. Working towards the weekend. We are almost there. It's a busy weekend on the sports calendar. LSU baseball takes the field in Round Rock in an hour. We'll get you ready for that one in hour number one. LSU basketball headed to Oxford, Mississippi. The Rebels now without a coach as they parted ways with Kermit Davis earlier this morning. Tiger softball is playing. LSU women's basketball is playing. Gymnastics is competing this weekend as well. It is a loaded weekend. Hope you make it a great one. Let's start it off with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It is a Lenten Friday. If you are observing, staying away from meat, let me tell you about Cork's over on Government between Jefferson and Foster. Brand new restaurant here in Baton Rouge from the folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue. They got Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Delicious fried fish, fried Gulf shrimp as well. Got the drive-thru rolling over there on Government Street. Also got a delicious crawfish etouffee. They'll serve you up over there as well. Go see our friends over at Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. They're going to bring you the Friday shows right here during your Lenten season. So stop on by for a late lunch right now or swing on through the drive-thru for dinner. I am going to go by the drive-thru for dinner and get some fish and shrimp for the family over there at Cork's. Very much looking forward to that. LSU and Kansas State from Round Rock in 1 hour. So we've got 30 minutes here to get you ready for it before they take over on the LSU Sports Radio Network over on Eagle 98.1. I think a lot of people a little bit up in arms with the television situation for this weekend. You have to purchase it through D1 Baseball. It's $25 for the weekend pass, $10 for a day. You know, I understand if you don't want to pay that money for these time slots at 2 o'clock on a Friday and noon on a Saturday and 4 on a Sunday, and that doesn't work for you. And I understand that people are paying a lot of money for streaming services or cable or whatever it may be, and this may not be what you want to do. I did not pay up the $30-something to watch LSU's basketball team in the Grand Caymans on Thanksgiving week when I was at home with my family. I just didn't. That wasn't going to move my needle enough to pay for it. I did purchase this weekend's baseball over at D1, one, because I want to watch it and desperately want to watch it, so I will. And two, because I think that staff at D1 Baseball does awesome work. Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, we have Joe Healy every Thursday. He's with their SEC Extra team, and he's awesome. And I think if they do something that I think is worthwhile, and certainly bringing in Kyle Peterson and Chris Burke and the whole crew over there to call this weekend for LSU baseball is awesome, and I'm going to be locked in. So I have made that purchase and can't wait to lock it in here during the last hour of my show and when I get off the air here at 3 o'clock. But LSU baseball stepping up in class this weekend. I'll preview the teams that they will play coming up in the next segment, plus some really interesting sound that I got yesterday from the D1 Baseball podcast talking about Paul Skenes. But I want to talk about LSU's lineup first because it has been posted over in Round Rock. Got it off Jacques Doucet's Twitter feed over in Round Rock. And there are a couple of shakeups with this LSU team in the lineup today. So I'll read it out. It's just a coincidence, I think, that LSU in the first 2 weeks of the season, really 7 days, we've had the lineup posted during the show 3 times. They had an early start last Friday, had an early start on Tuesday, and then an early start today. I don't think we'll be doing this very much on the show, but this so happens because of the time of day they're playing that we've got it. So Gavin Dugas is going to lead off at second base. Dylan Cruz will hit second. He plays center. Tommy White is in the lineup today for LSU, returning from that dislocated shoulder. He will have to DH. He will not play defense. There was some video of him yesterday taking ground balls, was not throwing, but in the drill we were looking at, nobody was throwing. So not sure exactly how that feels, but it's good enough to hit. So Tommy White's going to hit third. He's the designated hitter. Jared Jones needs to be in the lineup. He's been your DH. That spot's taken by Tommy White. Jared Jones is going to play first base today for LSU. He will hit cleanup. Trey Morgan is in the lineup, hitting fifth. He is going to play left field. Now, I think you could look at this and consider it a huge shakeup. LSU's playing Trey Morgan in the outfield. He hasn't done that his entire career. I don't believe, and I'll check on this, but I don't believe this is a move based on Trey Morgan needing to go play in the outfield to get your best lineup on the field in general. This move that Trey Morgan is making to left field today, I believe, is 100% triggered by Tommy White being able to hit and not being able to play defense. So he has to DH. We're not taking Jared Jones' bat out of the lineup against a left-handed pitcher, and he can't play the outfield. Sure, we could send him out there, but he's big and doesn't run all that great. He's a catcher by trade. We got to get him in the lineup. He's going to play first base. Well, that has to move Morgan out. So to me, this is simply a product of Tommy White being hurt and hitting in the three-hole playing DH. So Jared Jones is going to hit cleanup and play first. Trey Morgan's going to hit fifth and play left. Jordan Thompson is the shortstop. He'll hit sixth. Brady Neal, the left-handed bat against a left-handed pitcher, will do the catching. He'll hit seventh. Paxton Kling will play right field and hit eighth. And in the 9-hole playing third base, another left-handed bat here, Ben Napolt. So you look at Napolt, Neal, and Morgan. You've got three guys in the lineup that do hit left-handed against the left-handed pitcher for Kansas State. So, again, I think that this is purely a product of Tommy White not being able to play defense, but I think it is a great, great, great sign for LSU that he will be able to hit today and should be able to hit through the weekend. That looked so bad last Friday. I'm sitting in the box. I honestly wasn't looking when they threw over. I look over, the trainer's out, and Tommy White comes off the field not moving his shoulder and hunched over. I'm thinking, this is a disaster. 7 days later, he is in the lineup. I think that is a very, very good thing. Couple of things that I want to watch for LSU this weekend. This is a little bit of a step up in class, for sure. Kansas State picked towards the bottom of the Big 12, but we'll see. I think certainly better than Western Michigan. You're going to look at an Iowa team that has a really good pitching staff and is picked toward the top of the Big 10. And then you'll see Sam Houston, who, generally speaking, fields a nice baseball team. We saw them come over here in a regional in 2013. They've got a pretty solid program over there just outside of Houston. So I think this is a step up in class for LSU. Do we see a situation this weekend where LSU goes to a closer? The one close game last week, we saw Nate Ackenhausen was throwing the ball great. He continued throughout the end of the game and finished things off. I'm curious to see if a situation presents itself where Skenes gives you 6 or 7 and you're in a 1 or 2 run game, what happens out of the bullpen? My instincts tell me, and based on what I've seen for 7 days now, that Christian Little is the high leverage reliever that LSU would go to first. That's, again, purely based on what I've seen, not anything that anyone has told me. But I'm curious to see, because if you listen to my show, and I've still got my 5 bold preseason predictions sticky to the bottom of the sheet that I use every day on this show, and one of them was that no one on this team would have 8 saves. And I believe they will just kind of do it by committee, and Ackenhausen does have 1. But I think Christian Little has asserted himself to be the guy. And that stuff is just, that slider he's throwing right now is just disgusting. And he did throw a lot of pitches on Tuesday. You've had Wednesday and Thursday off. I think he could be able to go. But again, we're still learning about this bullpen and how guys respond to usage back-to-back days, how they respond to 30, 40 pitches. That's all new. Last year, in the middle of the year, we come to the realization that Riley Cooper can go every day. He throws 25 pitches on one day, he's good for 25 the next day. He goes 25 one day, 11 the next day, he's good for 28 the third day in a row. He pitched 3 games in a row multiple times in SEC play. LSU's in a depth position with this staff. They don't have to do that, but you're still learning how guys' arms respond. So I'm curious to see what shows up there. And then the other piece to this, kind of as we continue to monitor this team, what does the defense look like? I have no idea how Jared Jones looks at first base. No idea. That's a guy that was signed to LSU as a catcher, and has certainly worked at first base. Ethan Fry's worked at first base. You've seen Beloso, obviously, at first base, Trey Morgan. They've tried a lot of guys over there at first base to get some reps. And Jared Jones' bat has forced him into the lineup. So he's got to play. We've got to find a spot. We'll see what it is at first base. Now, LSU's defense on the infield has been very, very good. They have not tested Trey Morgan much at all over at first base, if at all. I can't think of any balls that have skipped over there from the infielders. We'll see. But we'll see what Jared Jones can do over there at first base. I think the infield defense on the left side with Napolt and Thompson should be pretty good. Gavin Dugas moving back to the infield. Does he continue to play pretty solid? He's turned a couple of double plays and has made the routine plays. I'm curious to see what this LSU defense looks like. We'll see if Trey Morgan acclimates to the outfield. I have very little doubt he can do that. He's a good athlete. He runs just fine. And I think he'll be fine out there in left field. We know that Cruz is a really good outfielder and Kling is a very good outfielder as well. But I think, as the sample size continues to grow, what does the defense look like? It was certainly a concern for this team moving forward. And then we'll talk about in the next segment what we're going to see tomorrow on the mound and the team that LSU will see on Sunday, because I do think that it's a very, very interesting weekend for this team. I expect LSU to go out there and win all three of these games, but we know it's baseball, and that doesn't always happen. Just the way the sport works. But LSU is the most talented team in this field by a sizable margin. They may have a small talent disparity on the mound tomorrow, but it's just part of it, and I think a very good part of this for LSU. So once again, if you missed the lineup, I'll rip through it one more time before we go to break and then come back and look at the opponents that LSU will see this weekend. Gavin Dugas is going to lead off at second base. Dylan Cruz in the two-hole play in center. Tommy White, the designated hitter, back in the lineup. He'll hit third. Jared Jones in the cleanup spot. He will play first. Trey Morgan moves out to left field. He'll hit fifth. Jordan Thompson in the 6-hole at shortstop. Brady Neal is the backstop. He will hit 7th. Paxton Kling in the 8-hole in right field. And Ben DePolt will play the hot corner over at third. He will hit 9th behind Paul Skenes. That's your look at LSU's lineup. I'll give you a thought on Kansas State, on Iowa, and on Sam Houston when we come back on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana like Simone Malaz. Been telling you about Simone Malaz all February long. Truly a champion of Louisiana. She has dedicated her career to protecting Louisiana's coast, and we know just how vital this coast is for us. Nearly 40% of the nation's wetlands, and it's responsible for a production of 20% of all the commercial fisheries landings by weight in the lower 48 states. Huge, huge part to what we do in our state, and Simone has dedicated her career to helping protect it. She's the executive director of Restore or Retreat, and she is a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, like Simone Malaz, maybe a nonprofit you're familiar with, nominate them at lwcc.com/champions so we can tell their story here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Simone Malaz is February's Champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne. Plus two-time PBR World Champion Chris Shivers. And Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th. Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. The #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
All right, let's say ah.
It's Musso. Join us for Friday's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll have updates from LSU Kansas State at the Round Rock Classic. We're recapping Pels and Raptors. It's Friday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Friday shows here on the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Swing on by, get some delicious fried fish and shrimp. It's on Government between Foster and Jefferson Highway. Great for lunch and dinner. They'll get you through that drive-through real quick. Delicious fried fish and shrimp. Can't beat it over there at Cork's. Brand new restaurant here. Inviting y'all to go check it out from the guys who brought you Kuyon's Barbecue. Proud new partner here of the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU and Kansas State going to get things going here in 45 minutes from chilly Round Rock. Temps in the low 50s today, and some rain potentially in the area, but I think they're going to be okay. Before we get into a preview of Kansas State and Iowa and Sam Houston, I wanted to bring this sound to y'all's attention. It's from the D1 Baseball Podcast. The voices you're going to hear are Mike Rooney, Aaron Fitt, and Kendall Rogers. They do an awesome job covering college baseball for D1 Baseball, and I was listening to their podcast yesterday and heard this sound from them that should excite you as an LSU fan. Certainly we'll see Paul Skenes on the mound here today against Kansas State, and it appears that he impressed some folks against Western Michigan.
I will be there, yeah. I'll be there for the first couple of days. I don't know what I'm looking forward to more, Paul Skenes on Friday or Brody Breck against LSU's lineup.
Yeah, the Iowa rotation
Probably Paul
is fun.
Skenes. I was just talking to the Nerdmaster General, and he said that because he's writing a feature, speaking of, for SEC Extra later this week on Paul Skenes, and he said that Paul Skenes' outing over the weekend that he saw was probably the best outing he's ever seen, like first outing he's ever seen from a pitcher.
Yeah, the video was super impressive. You know, like I felt like he had been advertised as kind of like just a big arm that's not very pitchable. And I watched the video clips from the other day, and those look like Skenes looked like a big leaguer. Is what he looked like.
The thing that I found interesting, even for Team USA last summer, is I thought he had pitchability. And I thought the stuff was good, but it was not the stuff that it is now. Like, he was last summer, he threw strikes, but we didn't see any 99s or this ridiculous. He's taken a big jump even since the summer. He's always been able to actually pitch more than you realize. But he's really, he's the whole package, guys. This guy might be the real deal.
Yeah. And by the way, he's working with a big league pitching coach.
Yeah. Between him and Brody Breck, I was talking to Rick Heller today, and he said that Breck averaged 98.9 over the weekend with his fastball.
Love that. Division I football athlete. Love that.
About that.
So high praise for Paul Skenes, and we'll talk about Brody Breck here in a second, the other arm they were talking about. But the best first outing ever seen. That's a scout that was looking at Paul Skenes last week. It's impressive stuff. I can't wait to ask Jay this when I see him next. Why Paul Skenes' numbers were just okay last year. They were good. But when if I'd have put Alex Lang or Aaron Nola or even some of the other guys in the SEC that we've seen over the years that have been studs, whether it's Asa Lacy at Texas A&M or any of the guys that Arkansas has thrown out there over the years that have been dominant right-handers. I mean, Vanderbilt's had a bajillion of them, Leiter and Rocker and those guys. If you put – and that because that's who we're talking about with Skenes here. We're talking about a guy who could be one of the best pitchers in the country, and I put him up there pitching against Air Force's schedule last year. I think the numbers are just video game, I think. And Skenes goes out there in the regional opener last year against Texas, who did go to Omaha, and they were a good team, but they knocked him all over the place. He didn't get through the fifth inning. It's why I was a little hesitant. The stuff, when I went out in the fall and saw him in the spring, yeah, I can read the radar gun. It says 98 miles an hour, and I see the slider, and I see the swing and miss, and he's 6'6", and I see it all. But then I'm looking at the paper, and I'm going, okay, that's good. It's not jaw-dropping. I'm wondering what the jump is that Paul Skenes has made, and I think there's a reasonable chance that you can pin some of that on Wes Johnson as a guy who can get the best out of this guy. We've talked about the pitch lab, and we understand how good Wes Johnson is a pitching coach. They mentioned it in that D1 baseball podcast. So I see that's probably the most logical reason why he's taken the jump that he has. But man, it's amazing. So Kansas State is who LSU will see here in 40 minutes. They're going to throw left-hander Owen Borima. Owen Borima was in D3 the last few years and has transferred up in class here. He's a big, tall lefty, 6'4", 6'5", left-hander. And Stephen F. Austin got after him a little bit last week, quite frankly. 3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 5 earned runs. He walked 3 and struck out 4. That's a poor stat line against Stephen F. Austin. I don't really know another way to say it. He's big. He's left-handed. He struck out a lot of guys in D3. I expect LSU to hit this guy. He walked 3 in 3 innings last week. Take a couple of walks and drill this guy. That's all the scouting I can give you on him. They don't have a lot of video from D3. I did find a little bit on YouTube and not much from last week against Stephen F. Austin, but this is not an intimidating arm that LSU is going to see today. The Tigers should settle in and swing the bat very well. Now, K-State does have some guys that scare you a little bit offensively. We'll see how Paul Skenes handles this lineup. The best hitter that Kansas State has is Nick Goodwin. He's their shortstop. Preseason unanimous All Big 12. He was an All-Star in Cape Cod last year. In 2020 last year, he only hit .255, but he did have 11 home runs, and he's 6 of 18 on the year. I really dislike batting averages this early in the season because they look kind of silly, but we can all do the math there. At 6 for 18, he's hitting .333 on the year, but 6 for 18. He's a very, very good shortstop who LSU will have to deal with today, very likely in the 3-hole. Cole Johnson only has 5 hits on the year for K-State. He's 5 for 23, but 3 of those are home runs, so there's some pop in that bat. And then the guy that I think, other than Goodwin, the guy that LSU's got to deal with today is Brendan Jones. He's the leadoff man for Kansas State. He is 8 for his last 17 after an 0-3 start on opening day. He leads off. He's stolen 3 bases. You got to deal with him. When you've got a dominant pitcher on the mound like LSU does today in Paul Skenes, it is vital to get the fire starter out. You can't let Brendan Jones walk or reach on an infield single, and then he steals a base, and then they can manufacture one. Make them hit to beat Paul Skenes, not steal bases and take extra bases and all that kind of stuff. You don't have Milazzo behind the plate. Brady Neal's back there. He's plenty capable of throwing guys out. He threw 2 guys out on Tuesday, but Jones will go. He's stolen 3 bases already in 4 games. So that's the guy. Brendan Jones at leadoff, and then Nick Goodwin at the shortstop, probably hitting 3rd. I think LSU's bats are going to be fine. Those are the guys I'm worried about in the Kansas State lineup. Now, we move to tomorrow's game, which by this point you probably are already familiar with what LSU's going to see tomorrow, and this really excites me because LSU needs this. They need what they're going to get on Saturday. Brody Brecht is going to go for Iowa on Saturday. He is going to be a high Major League draft pick. He is a wide receiver for Iowa's football team, which best I can tell means you just stand on the sidelines and then maybe line up far away from the guy who runs the ball. And that's what you do as a wide receiver at Iowa. However, he pitches, and he does a lot when he does that. And when I say he does a lot, he throws 100 miles an hour, and the breaking stuff is pretty good. Brody Brecht last week against Quinnipiac, 5 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, 10 strikeouts, no walks. I care that it's Quinnipiac, but I kind of don't care that it's Quinnipiac because striking out 10 in 5 innings without walking anybody is good stuff. And that's what Brody Brecht is. Last year for Iowa, he had 44 strikeouts in 22 and 2/3 innings. Those numbers, I don't care if it was in the Big Ten. That's really, really good. And LSU's lineup needs to see this. They need to see elite level stuff. As fun as last weekend was to go to opening weekend at the Box and to see the team come out there and to finally feel like you're back in baseball season, have some warm weather on Sunday, that's all well and good. It's Western Michigan stinks. I don't know what else to tell you. And I don't think Iowa's going to Omaha this year, but Brody Brecht is a pro prospect, and LSU's going to see him tomorrow. And here we go, Riley Cooper. Nice job against Western Michigan. Nice job last year out of the pen. You want to win a starting job on this team and hold off Christian Little and hold off Thatcher Hurd and kind of hold off Chase Shores, and you want to be a starter on this team? Go out there and outduel Brody Brecht. I realize that y'all aren't playing against each other because they're pitching against the other lineups, but hold them down. I don't think LSU is going to get 7 runs off Brody Brecht tomorrow. They may, and that'll be great. I'll come in here with bells on Monday if they do that. But it's going to be tough. LSU's going to strike out a little bit on Saturday. They may get overmatched at times. Now, I think that they should prove themselves and they should score some runs on him. It'll be disappointing if he strikes out 9 guys in 7 shutout innings. That'll be really disappointing if LSU has that happen to him tomorrow, but it's exactly what this team needs. They've seen a ton of Skenes and a ton of Grant Taylor and a ton of Christian Little and a ton of Chase Shores. They've seen upper 90s heaters since October of last year. So it shouldn't be anything new. I'm very, very excited to see LSU take on Brody Brecht and Iowa. Sam Houston, who I'll see on Sunday, is 3-2 on the year. They took 2 out of 3 from Rhode Island the opening weekend. They split midweek games. They beat McNeese. They hammered McNeese. And then they lost to Rice. I don't know who they're going to pitch. We're 2 days out from that, and certainly we don't even have LSU, who LSU is going to pitch. But Logan Hewitt was the Sunday pitcher for Sam Houston against Rhode Island last week. He did a good job. 6 innings, 2 runs on 4 hits. He struck out 6 and only had 1 walk. He's a 5'11", 190-pound right-hander. That's the kind of guy you expect Sam Houston to have. There's a million of them in Texas, a million 5'11", 175-pound right-handers who throw 85 miles an hour. You got to find the ones that are projectable, and so he'll be their guy. Offensively for Sam Houston, the guy you got to worry about is Carlos Contreras. He is the reigning WAC Player of the Year. He hit 400 last year. He was second in the country in RBIs, drove in 89 runs last year and hit 14 homers. He did not play last weekend. I researched and Googled and looked at Bayou, and I don't know why he didn't play last weekend. No clue. Probably hurt. Maybe, I don't know. He didn't play last weekend, but he did play both midweek games. So excited to see LSU take on that team as well. As I mentioned previously, I think LSU should go out there and win all 3 of these games. Let's just call it what it is. And if they don't, it'll be a little disappointing. It's a baseball season. It's a long journey. They're going to lose plenty this year. But I would like them to come out in their first real step up. Nice minor league ballpark, teams that you're more talented than, go out there and make it happen. So Tigers will take on Kansas State here in 35 minutes. If you want to listen, you can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Jeff Palermo has the call from over there in Round Rock at Dell Diamond, which I'm told is very, very nice. It's just a little cool today. Temps in the low 50s as LSU and Kansas State get ready to roll. Big weekend in SEC baseball. We'll get to a little bit of that. Coming up next, our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Shrimp and Fish. Get over there. It's on Government. Swing on by for a late lunch or dinner tonight if you're observing some Lent, or you just want something delicious to eat. Cork's bringing you our Friday shows. We'll come back with more on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $10,000 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Join me, Jimmy Ott and Charles Henniger, for the Monday edition of Game Time. We're live at Just Winging It, eating some boiled crawfish. Boiled crawfish season at Just Winging It. Mondays, Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good one. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. If you're sitting here going, I'm not doing drive-through fried food in South Louisiana, I promise you, go once. Go once to Cork's, and they will convince you. It's from the folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue, and it is phenomenal food over there on Government between Jefferson and Foster. SEC baseball this weekend. Certainly not going to go through every series here, but I do have some high notes I want to hit as we kind of keep our tabs on the Southeastern Conference before conference play and see how seasons are progressing. First series that I certainly want to take a look at this weekend is Maryland visiting Ole Miss. We talked to Joe Healy about this yesterday, and Maryland is a Big Ten team. Obviously, Maryland's in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten is not a good baseball conference. We know that as well. But Maryland still operates their baseball program kind of like an ACC team. That's where their roots are, and they've got a quality program over there. They're top 15 in D1 baseball. They beat South Florida 2 out of 3 last weekend, and they're a quality team. And Ole Miss is the team, obviously, we're more interested in down here. And I'm fascinated to see what Ole Miss's bullpen looks like this weekend against a quality team. Because with Hunter Elliott out this weekend, and we'll see what the long-term ramifications are of Ole Miss's ace having an MRI on his elbow. But Jack Doherty is going to come out of their bullpen and move into their weekend rotation. He's going to start today. And that takes their biggest bullpen bullet out of the bullpen. He's got to start. So you're going to get a lot of innings out of him probably today. But what does it mean in tight games today, tomorrow, and Sunday? Do you have the guys to come in and get the big outs? That's the biggest question for Ole Miss. And the way to solve that is if your offense just goes out there and rakes. Now, Maryland's got a pretty good pitching staff, but Ole Miss still has some familiar faces from last year's run. Jacob Gonzalez is probably the best shortstop in college baseball. Kemp Alderman had a big weekend last weekend, pumped a home run into left field. Peyton Chatagnier, all-name team for Ole Miss, but also a very good hitter as well. So this is an Ole Miss team that's going to maybe have to slug a little bit this year as their pitching kind of figures itself out, especially if Hunter Elliott doesn't come back. I think, in my opinion, if Hunter Elliott doesn't come back, it's kind of a death knell to Ole Miss's biggest aspirations, but they're still a quality team with a lot of good players, and we'll just see how they handle a top 15 team coming into Swayze this weekend. Crazy story. I talked about it yesterday, but if you missed this, Auburn was scheduled to go out to USC, Southern Cal, for a weekend series in L.A., and they looked up on Monday, and the two schools said, this forecast is awful. Hey, Auburn, y'all mind if we just fly out to Plainsman Park? And Auburn said, come on down. So this was scheduled in Los Angeles. They're moving it to Auburn. So good on USC for packing up and hitting the road. That's awesome, in my opinion, for them. Most teams wouldn't do that. Certainly, you could never get a football team to agree to do this on such short notice. But baseball is doing it, and that's awesome. So they will play in Plainsman Park. USC is 3-1. They scored 7 or more runs in every game they've played. Auburn's Friday night guy, Chase also, got hit around by Indiana last week. And that's Butch Thompson's a really good pitching coach, and I think they'll find something as far as pitching goes, but they don't have the front-end talent. They're going to throw Joseph Gonzalez on Saturdays. He's kind of a heavy sinker guy. It's not great stuff. And so I'm curious to see how that pitching staff handles a really quality lineup. They were okay against Indiana last week. USC's better than Indiana, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm also interested that Auburn is hitting a freshman in the 3-hole. Of course, they lost Sonny DeShara, who was phenomenal last year. Just couldn't get him out. And he's moved on to professional baseball. Ike Irish, a freshman, is hitting in the 3-hole. So I'm most curious to see how Auburn's pitching holds up. But second, that's an interesting deal to put a freshman in the 3-hole right out of the gate, and that's what Auburn has done. Arizona State is headed to Starkville. They'll start at 4 o'clock today, a little bit of early start over at Dudy Noble. Arizona State hammered the transfer portal. They are probably the team that had the second best transfer haul to what LSU pulled in this year. They have 28 new players on this roster from last year. They swept San Diego State. Really nice job in the opening weekend. They beat UNLV, so it's a 4-0 team. And for Mississippi State, play some defense. Just an embarrassing first 5 games defensively for Mississippi State. And that's why twice they've given up 10-plus runs in their first 5 games. Yeah, that's an indictment on your pitching staff, but if you can't catch the baseball, then what are we doing out here? Mississippi State has got to do a better job of playing defense. LSU went through those pains early last year, and it obviously cost LSU some games. One against Auburn, one against Arkansas. It can get to you, and Mississippi State has gotten off to a terrible start defensively. They have got to clean that up in a weekend against Arizona State, so we'll see how that one goes. One that's not big in terms of name brand recognition in Southeastern Conference play this weekend is Wright State is going to Kentucky. Say, well, who cares about that? Kentucky, nobody cares. Wright State, where is that? Well, Wright State was 35-13 2 years ago and was one of the best offenses in the country statistically, and they won 30 games again last year, 30-27. So, look, they went to Hawaii last week, so that's a nice season opening trip out in Hawaii. Lost 3 of 4. But Kentucky has pitched it really well and not hit it as well, which is not what you would expect from that program, especially in that ballpark. Now, they went to Elon to start, but that's generally a team that's built around offense. They've only allowed 6 runs in 4 games. And here's a stat that shocks me with Kentucky baseball and the ballpark that they're playing. And I realize they weren't in it for all the games, but they lead the country in sack bunts through 5 games. That's a lot. And they only have 1 homer. So if Nick Mingione is going to build his team in that ballpark around bunting a lot and not hitting for any power, you're going to get your butt kicked in the SEC. I'm just telling you. So it's early. Sample size is tiny. Not married to it for 56 games, but just looking at it through a week and a half, that's not a great recipe. And the last SEC series I want to look at here is UCLA at Vanderbilt in Nashville. Bruins are 4-0. They have won their games by a combined 54 runs, which is third in the country. South Carolina's leading that stat because they've hit the ball over the yard. But it's a UCLA team that's going to go up in class here against Vanderbilt. Carter Holton is going to start for Vanderbilt. He's one of the best pitchers in the SEC, big left-hander. He's got to be better. TCU roughed him up last week at Globe Life. He's got to be better, and he's facing a tough lineup today. So we'll see how Carter Holton looks. UCLA is going to counter with their big right-hander, Jake Brooks. He's phenomenal. Struck out 8 in 5 innings last week. So that's a really big-time pitching matchup between Vanderbilt and UCLA tonight. Excited to look at that one. And Vanderbilt's got to get Enrique Bradfield going. If you follow SEC baseball, you know that Bradfield is one of the most exciting players in the country. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's an elite steals guy. He's incredibly fast, hits from the left side, hits really well. He's 2 for 18 right now. So without him going, that lineup doesn't cook. I told you that LSU has got to do a great job of getting Kansas State's leadoff man out in the game today because you don't want that fire starter up making things happen against your best pitcher. That's the same thing that UCLA is going to have to deal with Enrique Bradfield. In fact, he's the best at it in the entire country. That's the one thing that this LSU baseball lineup doesn't have is just the prototypical leadoff guy. It's not a necessity at all. You got a guy that gets on base and creates some things in front of Cruz and White. That's great. If it's Gavin Dugas, that's awesome. If it's Trey Morgan, that's awesome. If it's Paxton Kling, that's great. I don't really care. It doesn't have to be a 5'9" crouched down speed slap hitter who plays second base. Like, it doesn't have to be that guy. You just got to get things moving at the leadoff spot in the offense, and Enrique Bradfield is the best in the country at that. We'll see if UCLA can handle that. So that's what I'm looking for in the SEC this weekend in baseball. Maryland is at Ole Miss. USC is now at Auburn. Arizona State visits Starkville, Mississippi. Wright State is at Kentucky, and UCLA is at Vandy. A big weekend for a lot of teams in the conference. And, of course, LSU, the only team in the SEC that's going out to play in one of these round-robin deals. Quite a few teams did it last week. You saw Missouri and Arkansas and Vanderbilt. You saw Tennessee travel last weekend out west. So LSU takes their chance in Round Rock this weekend. If you are just jumping in and late to the party here, LSU and Kansas State are going to start up in 19 minutes over in Round Rock. You can watch it on D1 Baseball. Got to pay for it for the weekend, or you can buy a daily pass. If you want to listen, you can catch it on our sister station over there on Eagle 98.1. Jeff Palermo is going to have the call from Dell Diamond over in Round Rock. I guess I'll make my prediction for LSU this weekend as we get closer to first pitch. I think LSU sweeps the weekend. I think LSU goes out and handles their business. I want to see Paul Skenes dominate today. I want to see Riley Cooper bow his neck very likely tomorrow. They haven't announced a pitcher because Jay's not going to do that anymore after what he thinks happened to Thatcher Hurd on Tuesday. But I think Riley Cooper will go on Saturday, and I think Jay Shores will go again on Sunday. If he throws Christian Little out there at some point, it won't shock me. If he throws Thatcher Hurd out there at some point, it won't shock me. But I would bet the chalk as if LSU's going to send the same guys out there. LSU's the best team in this field by a good bit. I think they ought to have a nice crowd over there in Round Rock. And I think LSU will sweep the weekend. But time will tell. LSU gets started in about 17 minutes over there from just outside of Austin. When we come back, Pels got off to a rough start after the All-Star break. Second hour, lots of hoops. Neil McCready from rebelgrove.com is going to join us at 2:30. A lot going on over in Oxford, Mississippi. Of course, LSU and Ole Miss play at 7:30 tomorrow. We'll talk about that. Kermit Davis has been fired. We'll talk about that. And some news bubbling up, some reports bubbling up from Jeff Goodman that Ole Miss may be interested in Will Wade. And that leads us to our Citizens Bank poll question of the day. How would you feel if Ole Miss hired Will Wade? Would you be jealous? Would you be angry? Would you be indifferent? We'll ask Neil if that's a real possibility coming up in 45 minutes. Come back with us to close out hour number 1 on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside off the bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $10,000 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge.
Saturday at 1 p.m. as the Baylor Bears host the Texas Longhorns. Then Saturday night, the Philadelphia 76ers host the Boston Celtics at 7:30. And Sunday, the Milwaukee Bucks host the Phoenix Suns at noon. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If you listen to Matt Moscona's show on these airwaves after further review, you can catch it 3 to 6 daily here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. He has Scott Kushner on a good bit to talk about the Pelicans, and Scott's got a great podcast he does with another New Orleans buddy, and they talk all things New Orleans, Pelicans, Mardi Gras, whatever the case may be at a given time. And they insinuated on their podcast today that the Pelicans have about 20 games to define the franchise. And that's in the wake of the Pels going up to Toronto and dropping the first game after the All-Star break 115 to 110. north of the border last night. And I understand what they're saying. You're talking about a team that had all things firing before Christmas. And then you had some injuries, and then you had that gross losing streak that spanned 3 weeks. And it has looked pretty bleak ever since. And the latest issue has been Zion Williamson sitting out and may miss the rest of the season for all we know. I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that the franchise is going to be defined over the next 20 games, because it stands to reason that you would have your nucleus right on back next year. And if you can keep them on the floor, it's pretty good. Now, I'm obviously aware that that's not a guarantee. In fact, it's not even a likelihood. But it's a possibility. And not like trading for another star possible, like we just need the team to show up possible. So my opinion is that things will go pretty average over the last 22 games. They're 30-30 right now. They'll probably play pretty close to 500 basketball the rest of the way. They've got a fairly easy, navigable schedule. Got the Spurs a little bit more. You got the Rockets a couple more times. You've got some chances to win, but I don't know that I'm suggesting that there's going to be some sort of heater or that Zion's going to come back and just dominate in the next 2 weeks. That's ambitious. But it was disappointing to see them get off to a bumpy start last night. They couldn't make anything in the first quarter. They scored 19 points, and they were playing catch-up from the start, and they played it to a pretty good level in the fourth quarter. They outscored Toronto by 10 points, but they were down 15 entering the quarter, so you look up and you've lost the game by 5. B.I. picked up where he left off right before the All-Star break. He scored 36 points and dished out 3 assists and was really, really good. He got to the free throw line. He made 5 of his 7 threes. He's the scorer that he was supposed to be, and we know that that wasn't the case right out of the chute after he came back from the injury. And CJ hit 3 of his 5 threes and added his 23 points, and we think he looked a little bit refreshed and was better off than he was before the All-Star break when he was dealing with a couple of different nagging injuries. But it was a slow offensive start, and it's been the offense that has plagued this team throughout its poor play. And that continued. And without your best, most dominant scorer, B.I. is a great scorer, but Zion dominates games when he's out there. It's just kind of tough. And right now, the Pels are what they are. They're a 500 team. And I expect them to be a 500 team for the next month and a half. And I expect them to be a plucky little team, not to use a pun there, but a plucky little team in the playoffs. I don't think there's a deep NBA run in them. I think there's a pretty good chance they'll beat a tough out. And then you hope that you can find 1 or 2 more pieces, maybe one bigger piece with the assets that you have in the offseason and come back at it again. I think it was reasonable to look at this team, this collection of talent, the way they were playing in December, and say, hey, this is a team that I think can be in the top 4 seeds in the Western Conference, can be a team that advances a round or 2, can be a team that challenges for the West. I don't think it's that realistic right now. I didn't say impossible. I don't think it's realistic. But I would push back against Kushner saying, hey, define the franchise. No. The definition of the franchise will be when this run is over with this collection of players. When CJ ages out, and if you can keep Ingram and Zion around, if you're unable to do anything and those guys demand a trade or ask out of town like has happened in previous eras with the Pelicans and Hornets, then that's a failure, and that'll be the definition of it. I just don't think it comes between now and the end of March. Now in early May. I think this will just be a pretty average go, is my opinion. You would have liked to win that game against the Raptors. They'll play again against the Knicks tomorrow in MSG. If you missed Charlie's interview with Todd Graffinini a little bit earlier, you can go catch that on demand. And Todd kind of talked about how the Pelicans are looking at doing their traveling. But like to get a win against a Knicks team that's just okay, and then come on home and see what you can do. But Pels get off to a bumpy start after the All-Star break. They're now 30-30, just 10-20 away from the friendly confines of the blender. Friday shows brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It is Lent. It is Friday. If you're looking to avoid meat, can't find a better spot than Cork's fresh, delicious shrimp and fish. It's on Government, just between Foster and Jefferson. It's an awesome new spot here in Baton Rouge from the folks that brought you Couillon's Barbecue, and we're thrilled to be their partner here on Fridays. Swing on by the drive-thru. If you're from Louisiana and you're going, why would I try fast food, fish, and shrimp? Just try it. It's quick service, but it is so high quality. It is clean. It is delicious. It is a recipe born right here in South Louisiana. They've got great specials for you over there, including a Lenten special that's got some crawfish etouffee with some delicious golden fried shrimp on there. Gulf shrimp they use over there at Corks. It is phenomenal. And my family, will be having some this evening. Beignet bites. Give those a try for dessert as well. They are very, very good. CorksFishandShrimp.com is the website, CorksFishandShrimp.com if you want to check out the menu. But get on by. It's on Government Street, an awesome, awesome new spot here in Baton Rouge. They're our partner each and every Friday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of today's first hour, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or on YouTube where we got some y'all hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat. We opened things up talking about LSU's lineup today and what it looks like against Kansas State. My expectation for the weekend for LSU. Then I gave you a scouting report on all three weekend opponents over in Round Rock in the second segment. Talked a little SEC baseball at 1:30. Then a little Pels here to close things out so you can catch all of that on demand. LSU and Kansas State about 5 minutes from getting things cranked up in Round Rock. We'll give you some updates as we move forward here. But we'll kind of transfer away from baseball for the second hour because if you're a baseball fan, you're probably going to pay a little attention to that over the next hour. So we'll talk LSU and Ole Miss when we get back after SportsCenter SEC Hoops Preview, plus Neil McCready from Rebel Grove. How realistic is it that Ole Miss may hire Will Wade to be their next basketball coach? We'll get Neil's thoughts on that coming up in 35 minutes. Come back with us after SportsCenter. Hope your Friday is going awesome. You're listening to the Capital City's leader in sports talk. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
Let's go, defense!
We get it done with passion for our fans and love for our community. We are the Tigers. Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting, with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus 2-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. the nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports Quinn Snyder could be the next head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Nate McMillan was fired 3 days ago. Snyder resigned last year as coach of the Jazz and is now talking with the Hawks. 7:30 Eastern for an NBA doubleheader on ESPN. The Bucks host the Heat, followed by the Suns hosting the Thunder. ESPN's Jeff Passan reports that by the start of the new baseball season, pitchers and hitters will adjust to the new pace of play rules.
That's what spring training is for, and the hope is that by opening day, there are going to be far fewer penalties levied against pitchers and against hitters, remember, both of whom, with the pitch clock, can be penalized for either not being in the batter's box with 8 seconds left or not throwing the ball with the clock hitting 0.
Jeff Passan. Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson is disputing a report in The Athletic that he tried to get Coach Pete Carroll and GM John Snyder fired before he was eventually traded out of Seattle. Wilson tweets today Carroll was a father figure and Snyder believed in him and he didn't want them fired.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
One more hour left in the working week for me. Hope your Friday's going awesome wherever you may be listening to us. We appreciate you making us a small part of your day. LSU and Kansas State, a couple minutes from getting things underway over in Round Rock. Tigers and Rebels in men's basketball tomorrow from the Pavilion in Oxford. Ole Miss made some news today. They have parted ways with head coach Kermit Davis after 5 seasons. They will go the rest of the way with an interim head coach. So we'll see how that impacts things from an energy standpoint, from an effort standpoint for the Rebels, who've actually been pretty plucky in their last 2 games. Look, Ole Miss has had a bad year this year. They're 10-18. They're 2-13 in league play. They're 0-7 at home in SEC play. Look, like I mentioned, they've been kind of scrappy the last 2 games. They lost an overtime game against Mississippi State at home last weekend, and they only lost by 4 at Auburn over the week. But Ole Miss decided with AD Keith Carter that, hey, we're gonna make a move here and give our guys the last 2 weeks without this hanging over their heads. We'll see. We'll talk with Neil McCready coming up in 25-30 minutes. He covers Ole Miss for Rebel Grove, and there are some rumors that Jeff Goodman has put out there that says that Ole Miss is very interested in Will Wade as their next head basketball coach. Yeah, as far as I know, Will Wade's still under investigation. I'm assuming we'll get the results of that investigation at some point before I get my ARP card or retire. But we'll see. We'll see on that, and we'll talk with Neil about it. But entering this year, Ole Miss was going to be a guard-heavy team. They were going to rely on their backcourt to do a lot of heavy lifting. Deshaun Ruffin was the first McDonald's All-American to ever sign with Ole Miss. He was a top 50 player in the country. Played 14 games as a freshman last year, was coming back from an injury. He did average 13 points per game in those 14 games, but he was back and healthy and ready to go in his sophomore year as a McDonald's All-American. Then you got Matthew Morrell, who was a top 50 player the year before that, averaged 12 points per game as a sophomore. Those two guys, top 50 national recruits, were going to be asked to come in and be the engine for the Ole Miss offense. Well, Deshaun Ruffin played 11 games and basically quit the team. He just left. And Matthew Morrell missed a little over 2 weeks with an injury. Outside of those two guys, only one player on this team averages 8 points per game or more. So once you lost one of your key cogs and the other one was compromised for a little bit, there just really wasn't anywhere to turn. And part of that is bad luck, and part of that is not having enough depth in your program. Kermit Davis can coach. Nobody's going to dispute that. He was an excellent assistant coach here under John Brady. He won a ton of games at Middle Tennessee, made tournaments, won tournament games, had a great run there, and I don't think was a poor hire by Ole Miss. But in this sport, the great recruiter is going to beat the great coach, assuming the other part is pretty mediocre, almost every time. Players win the games. Coaches help, for sure. No question about it. But dudes are dudes in college. Ask Kirby Smart. He makes no bones about it. What was the first thing he did when he got to Georgia? Just about doubled their recruiting budget. They're outspending everybody. Look at the result. He's a great coach. Have good staff. But you got to get dudes, and Ole Miss has not had enough dudes. Kermit's team made the tournament in his first year, never did again because they just don't have enough players. That's the most important thing. And they didn't have them. So here's your look at Ole Miss, who LSU will play tomorrow at 7:30 up in what will be probably an empty pavilion in Oxford. They're 264th in the country in offensive efficiency. That comes as no surprise when I just laid out what I did about their guards. They are 354th out of 363. There are not 10 teams in the country worse than Ole Miss in three-point shooting percentage. 29% on the year. They are 41st in the country in the percent of points they get on free throws. They shoot about 18 per game, but they don't shoot them great. The only thing Ole Miss does statistically on offense that looks pretty good on paper is rebound. 26th in the country in offensive rebounding. Outside of that, they're not good on the offensive end of the floor. Defensively, 141st in the country in defensive efficiency. That's pretty average. They're 52nd in block percentage. Everything else is pretty average. It's an average team. Now, with Kermit on the bench, you can be pretty sure that Ole Miss is going to switch their defenses. They're going to come down one possession, they're going to trap you. They're going to come down one possession, go 1-3-1. Play a straight man, then they'll go to a switching defense. They are constantly moving. I don't know if the interim coach is going to do that. I don't know much about Ole Miss basketball's interim head coach. I can't help you too much with that. My guess is they'll do a lot of the similar things that Kermit had done because that's what the team is comfortable with. So here's their personnel. I mentioned Matthew Morrell, 6'4", 200-pound junior guard. He leads them in scoring at 14.5 points per game. He scored 23 on Wednesday at Auburn. He shot the ball 321 times this year. Second on the team is about 100 behind that. So he's the offensive guy. He leads them in assists. He shoots way more than anybody else. Not great, 28% from three. That's not super good, but he's capable of knocking down 6 or 7 of them on a given day. Don't let him get going. I'd put Adam Miller on him and say, hey, run everywhere with this guy and do not let him get a clean look. If you take Morrell away and you hold him to 12, 13 points, Ole Miss is going to struggle to get to 70. Period. So that's object number one. Now, because Day-Day Ruffin left the team and quit, Amory Abram has taken on a sizable role. 190 pounds, 6'4", freshman, 8 points per game. He was a top 100 player in the country. 34% from three, not great. But he's taken on more of a scoring role because Ruffin is not there. So Morrell and Abram are your two guards. And then there's one forward that you got to pay attention to, and that's Jamin Brakefield. He was a 5-star recruit when he signed with Duke. Number 1 player in the state of Mississippi, went to Duke, was there for a year, transferred back. 54% from the floor for him, 35% from three, which is pretty good. He scores 10.5 points per game. He's a pretty good player. You'll see him shoot it with his left hand at 6'8". Pretty good player. But the guards are what makes this thing go. I think LSU can match up with their size with Brakefield. Morrell is a concern because he's going to have the ball in his hand all the time, and LSU's going to have to deal with him. Here's the thing for LSU in this game against Ole Miss. There is no reason, none, that KJ Williams should not shoot the ball 25 times moving forward. He's your best offensive player. He's your best three-point shooter. He's your best finisher around the rim. There's not even a close second anywhere. Anywhere. He needs to shoot it 25 times. I'm not saying for him to start pulling step back between the legs, fadeaway threes. But in rhythm, with a focus every time down the floor, he should catch the ball and have a chance to get a shot up. He's so far and away your best guy. Let him play. Don't turn it over. LSU kept the turnovers down in the game on Wednesday, and because they got enough shots at the basket, they scored enough points. I'm not counting on 35 more from KJ, but if you limit LSU's shots, instead of turning the ball over 7 times, you turn it over 17, and you take 10 shots away from LSU, and you figure they're still going to shoot around 40%, that's a big deal. You can't have possessions go by the wayside, especially against a very, very mediocre Ole Miss team. Take care of the basketball. And can they keep shooting the three pretty well? I realize that a lot of this is on KJ. He was 5 of 10 on Wednesday. But over the last 2 games, LSU is 26 out of 59 from three. That is 44% from three in the last 2 games. Some teams find a stretch of 2 weeks where they really shoot it better than they do the rest of the year. Hopefully that's the case with LSU here over the next 7-10 days. Because if LSU shoots the ball pretty well from three tomorrow, they can win the game. The question is, what Ole Miss do you see? What Ole Miss shows up in terms of energy and effort? Is it a team that's relieved that there's no more questions about maybe a coach getting fired, or that negative air that hovers over the program? Or is it a team that comes out fired up for their interim coach because they love the guy and they're ready to play and they're freed? I don't know. I don't expect a lot of people in the pavilion. They'll have some people on campus because baseball's playing, and my guess is instead of leaving the baseball field against Maryland and heading to the pavilion, they'll probably head to the square and have dinner and enjoy the night in Oxford, as opposed to going to the pavilion and watching LSU and Ole Miss play, who have a grand total of 4 SEC wins. That's my guess. But I don't know what kind of energy level Ole Miss will bring. LSU needs to make it a point to elevate their level above Ole Miss in terms of energy. That's something that is attainable no matter your talent. You should come out and bring the heat. We know LSU is consistently falling behind by 7 to 10 points in the first 5-8 minutes of the game. Don't do that. Come out with your hair on fire. You ought to be feeling a little bit better about yourself than you did 3 days ago. You got to win. You got that monkey off your back. Time to go play. And I think LSU can take it to Ole Miss. I'm going to pick LSU to win the ball game on Saturday in Oxford. Ole Miss has played pretty well over the last week, so it's not to say that it's a slam dunk that LSU is going to win. I think everyone knows that we're not anywhere near that. But I do think LSU will win on Saturday. We shall see. They are underway over in Round Rock, LSU and Kansas State. Kansas State does have a couple of runners on with nobody out against Paul Skenes, as I just flip over to that tab on my computer screen. So we'll see if Skenes can tap dance out of trouble here against the best hitter on this Kansas State team, 3-hole hitter in the shortstop, as I told you about in hour number 1. Neil McCready going to come on, talk all things Ole Miss basketball, and including whether or not they're looking into Will Wade. That's in 15 minutes. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fish and Shrimp. You can catch them on Government Street. Drive on through and pick up some dinner. Be back after this with more on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. Check out the inventory, BayouFord.com. What are you in the market for? F-150, Explorer, Expedition, Mustang? Maybe it's a Bronco. They got you covered over there at Bayou Ford. The entire inventory listed online at BayouFord.com. Every new purchase at Bayou Ford going to come with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. For the life of that vehicle, you will have it under that powertrain warranty. If it's on the lot, they've got it. You can take a look at it. All the facts about that car are going to be online. There's going to be a video touring the car for you, all the bells and whistles, as well as the deals they can score you over there at Bayou Ford. And it says right there at BayouFord.com, don't settle. Do not settle. They don't have it on the lot. They can customize a vehicle for you and have it turned around in 60 to 90 days, delivered to your front door. It's the Bayou to you guarantee. BayouFord.com is the website. BayouFord.com is the website. Bayou Ford, they're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit. We get it done with passion for our fans and love for our community. We are the Tigers. Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus 2-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer.
It's Musso. Join us for Friday's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll have updates from LSU Kansas State at the Round Rock Classic. We're recapping Pels and Raptors. It's Friday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A lot of SEC action on the hardwood tomorrow. Kind of get you primed for it. Missouri and Georgia will do battle in Athens. Joe Lenardi says Missouri is a 10 seed right now. The good news for Missouri, their remaining schedule is very, very doable. It's at Georgia, it's at LSU, and it's Ole Miss. Those are three of the bottom teams in the Southeastern Conference. That's good news because it's a great chance to get some wins. It's bad news because if you lose one or two of those games, it will be very damaging to your postseason resume. So Missouri really needs to go on the road against Georgia and win. Georgia's not very good, but we know that Missouri can be hot and cold, and that's been their MO this year. It's really fun when they're hot and they're cooking and they're going. But when they're not, it can get real cold, and they can score in the 50s. So I like Missouri to go to Georgia and win. It's a kind of back against the wall type situation, and I think they'll outplay Georgia So looking forward to seeing what happens there in Athens. Arkansas is at Alabama, which is a huge game for Arkansas. Look, here's the deal with Arkansas. If Nick Smith plays in this game at Alabama, which he's going to play, but if he scores 27 points and Arkansas wins on the road at Alabama, in my opinion, as the selection committee, you're going to have to change the way you evaluate Arkansas. Because, yeah, they got off to a really bumpy start with injuries and losses and have some ugly ones on their resume. But with Nick Smith back, he provides exactly what they didn't have. He shoots and he scores. Arkansas is good at everything else besides shooting and scoring. They're good on defense. They're good at rebounding. They're long. They're athletic. They play hard. They got some depth. But they don't shoot it well, and they don't score a lot of points. Well, Nick Smith does that as well as anybody in the country, especially if they can go on the road and beat Alabama. Now, we all know what's going on in Tuscaloosa, and it didn't seem to affect Brandon Miller too much on Wednesday. He went out and scored 41 points, but they were on the ropes against South Carolina and just about lost if it weren't for Miller. Had to go to overtime. So that's going to be looming over Bama's head the entire rest of the season. So they can just get used to that. Kind of the same thing that LSU was dealing with in a very different light when they won the Southeastern Conference and their coach got suspended before senior day. That's not going anywhere. It just is what it is. Now, I'm not trying to compare the two situations, but they are distractions. They are off the court, and we'll see. But it's a fascinating game between Arkansas and Bama. I like Bama to win the game. I'm just not going to pick them. I'm not going to pick against them at Coleman. I'm not that crazy. Texas A&M is at Mississippi State. Very, very interesting game in this one. Joe Lunardi's got Mississippi State in his last 4 in. He's got Texas A&M as a 6. I think the Aggies are in great shape, which is remarkable considering what they did to start off. But they've been so good. Mississippi State is a great defensive team. They are a better defensive team on their home floor. But A&M, it's going to take a lot for me to pick against them. Like I won't pick them against Bama. If they were in Knoxville, I might have trouble picking them. But I'm going to take Texas A&M to go to Mississippi State and win. I think they're very capable of that. And it's just when I watch them and they get into crunch time, the last 6 minutes of the game, they make winning plays. They always draw the charge. They always hit the three. They always get the steal and run out. They just seem to make the plays. And so I'm just going to take them against a state team that it's a nice effort by Chris Jans in his first year. I just don't see them as a tournament team. So I think that this will knock them out, and then we'll see what they can do over the last week of the season plus the SEC tournament. Auburn is at Kentucky. Auburn's playing with fire here a little bit. They're a 10 seed according to Joe Lunardi, and as I've mentioned a bunch of times, we know what their last 3 SEC games are. It's at Kentucky on Saturday, it's at Bama in the midweek next week, and then they will play Tennessee at Auburn. So those are 3 of the best teams in the conference, if not the 3 best. I think probably got to throw Texas A&M in there at this point. But that's what Auburn's got left, and they're a 10 seed. So in the exact inverse of Missouri, who's a 10, Missouri's got landmines that they should be able to jump over. Auburn's got a firing squad lined up next to them that if they get past it, great on you. But it's a really tough gauntlet. At Rupp, I'll take Kentucky to win that game. I think they're playing better than Auburn right now. Auburn is just not playing very well. Interesting to see how Sheboy and Broome match up on the block in that game, 2 of the best big men in the Southeastern Conference, but I'll take Kentucky in that game. South Carolina is at Tennessee. Tennessee's a 3 seed right now, but they have lost 4 of 5, and they've got Arkansas and Auburn left, which are no picnic. So Tennessee's just got to kind of get it figured out. That's the best I can tell you. You can't be a potential 1 seed and then throw up on yourself and lose 5 of your last 7 games. That potentially could knock you out of those protected top 4 seeds if you're not careful. Certainly can't lose to South Carolina, who is not good at all, but did just take Alabama to the brink here over the midweek. So South Carolina's at Tennessee. I expect Tennessee to handle their business in this one. And then the last one, Florida at Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's hopes died in the PMAC on Wednesday to make the NCAA tournament as an at-large. They're going to have to win the SEC tournament if they want to be in the tournament, and I don't see that happening. Nice job by Jerry Stackhouse. I don't see him running the table when they get to the SEC tournament. Let's see what Florida's got in the tank. Really inspired effort in the midweek to come out and play hard with no Colin Castleton. We know that LSU finishes the season in Gainesville. Does the loss of their leader emotionally kind of drain them for the season, or do they still have a lot in the tank and can be a tough out? We'll see in that one. I like Vanderbilt to win that game in Nashville. Tigers do surrender a run. Paul Skenes gives up a run to Kansas State in the first inning, but he does get out of trouble with second and third. He gets a couple of outs, including a big strikeout to end the top of the first inning. So they played half an inning over in Round Rock. Looks like real chilly Round Rock. It is 1-0 Kansas State. Tigers will be coming up to bat. We'll keep you updated on that. Again, I want to remind you about our friends over at Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Brand new restaurant here in town. Quick service, fried shrimp, fried fish, and it is fantastic. Trying to eat a little bit cleaner, don't want the fried food, they can do it without the breading for you as well. Got great kids meals, got great tailgating packages as well. They got a drive-through as well as a very comfortable indoor dining room over there on Government Street between Foster and Jefferson. If you have not tried Corks out yet, give them a try. It's from the same folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue, and they are bringing you our Friday shows for the foreseeable future here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Wild day in Oxford, Mississippi. Not because Maryland's coming in for baseball series, not because basketball season's still ongoing, but because they have fired their head basketball coach, Kermit Davis. He will no longer be with the team moving forward. They'll go to an interim coach. Neil McCready covers Ole Miss for RebelGrove.com. We'll ask him what he expects to see in the pavilion tomorrow with LSU and Ole Miss, and maybe more importantly, where does this coaching search go? And does it finish with Will Wade? Is that a possibility? Our Citizens Bank poll question of the day is just that. How do you feel about Will Wade potentially being the head coach at Ole Miss? We'll give you the results of that at the end of the show. When we come back, Neil McCready from GrevelGrove.com will join us, take the temperature of what's going on in Oxford. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside off the bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. Bulls, Bands, and Barrels at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. With bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman with Timothy Wayne. February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center, 7 p.m.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial...
Join me, Jimmy Ott and Charles Henniger for the Monday edition of Game Time. We're live at Just Winging It, eating some boiled crawfish. Boiled crawfish season at Just Winging It. Mondays, Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline to Oxford, Mississippi. That's where we'll find Neil McCready, he of RebelGrove.com. He and Chase Parham do an awesome job covering the Ole Miss Rebels. Neil, I know you're a busy guy. Appreciate some time.
You're certainly welcome, Hunt. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, obviously the decision made this morning to part ways with Kermit Davis. We've known this has been coming for a while. Why today?
That's a good question. I think what basically happened was Keith Carter and Kermit Davis had a conversation yesterday, Thursday, in which Kermit was informed that he would not be the coach next season. I think Ole Miss, Keith Carter wanted Kermit to finish the season. Kermit elected not to finish the season, and so he was terminated.
We know Kermit from his time down here in Baton Rouge on John Brady's staff, and obviously we're familiar with his great work at Middle Tennessee, where he built a great program there. Why did it not work at Ole Miss?
You know, that's the question I've always wanted to ask him. I had kind of hoped that the opportunity would come at some point. Maybe it will. I'll give you my hypothesis. I'd rather hear his thoughts on it. But it's my opinion that they simply misevaluated prospects. I think initially they misevaluated the job. I think they thought you could recruit at the SEC level the way that they recruited at Middle Tennessee, and that you could just out-coach people, and that's not the way it works in this league. You guys know that. I know that. We've been in this league. Kermit's been in this league too, so I hate to say that with such emphaticism, because he might tell me that, no, that's not right. They just simply had a hard time winning the right recruiting battles. I think he coached in a way that made kids play scared a little bit. I think that they played a style of play that after a couple, 3 years was hard to recruit to. They certainly had some injury issues. This is a really hard league. You look around the league and you look at the coaches in this league, and it's Buzz Williams and Bruce Pearl and John Calipari and Eric Musselman and the list, Rick Barnes. The list goes on. There are really good coaches in this league, and they just lost a lot of games. And once you start losing, I think losing becomes infectious. They had a hard time finishing games. And, they're 2-13 this year. They were 4-15 last year in the SEC, including the loss to Missouri in the tournament. So you can do the math. It just wasn't working. There was no way they were going to run this back. And yet I still think at the end of the day, Kermit either thought that he had a chance to run it back, or he simply did not want to come across as someone that was going to quit. So today happened.
When I saw the news today, I thought, man, that's a really, really tough job. And then I immediately went, well, so was Auburn as of 5 years ago, and they're cooking now because they got a great coach. How tough is the Ole Miss job, and what should the expectation level be there?
Look, it's a hard job. I mean, is it Kentucky or Tennessee or Arkansas even? No. But look, you take Arkansas, for example. Yeah, they've won under Musselman, but before Musselman they didn't win. John Pelfrey didn't win at Arkansas. There have been people that didn't win at Arkansas. So, not everybody wins. Look at Auburn before Bruce Pearl. That's a great example. They sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even think for a decade. And now Bruce Pearl's made them a national factor. Nate Oates at Alabama. Alabama didn't win big before Nate Oates. They had some success, but, Avery Johnson didn't light the world on fire there. I think this is a coach's league. It's a players' league, but it's a coach's league because the coaches have to go out and get the players. So how good of a job is it? It's a hard job, but they have one of the better arenas in the league. They've got a great practice facility. They've got to have a kind of a come to Jesus meeting about what they do in terms of their buy-in as it pertains to NIL. But I'm not going to fault an alumni base for not being super excited about the products on the floor the last 4 or 5 years. But it can be a good job. Now look, Hunt, again, it's not an elite job. And whoever comes in here, if anybody were to ever make this Auburn West, they've got to be really good. They've got to be a great recruiter. They've got to be terrific in the portal. They have to be very charismatic. You have to check a lot of boxes to get it done here. But Bruce Pearl's gotten it done at Auburn, and I don't know that the Auburn job is considerably better than Ole Miss.
As you start listing those boxes to check, I've got a smirk on my face because I know a guy who may fit some of those molds who used to live in this city. We'll talk about Will Wade.
I got to tell you.
You want to talk about it now? You want to do it now? Is that a possibility?
Because I've said this. Well, I think it's a possibility. If I'm Ole Miss, and I'm not, and they're not going to consult me, but if I'm them, unless I am absolutely convinced that Will Wade is going to get from the IARP/NCAA, whatever you want to call that, something that they've given to no one else, I'm hiring him.
Yeah. Look, I can't prove this with any fact. I think he has the highest approval rating of a fired coach in this former place of anyone in the history of collegiate athletics. This town absolutely adores that guy, and a lot of the reason that they are where they are right now is because of him, but it was a fun 5-year run.
Well, here's the deal with Will Wade. He's 40 years old, if I'm correct, at 40, 41, 39, somewhere in that range. He's 40 years old. He's been successful everywhere he's ever been. He's an elite recruiter. I think he would be able to put together an SEC caliber staff. He did it down there. He makes it fun. The other fans hate him, but the fans of the place that he's coaching for love him. He makes it exciting. He makes the teams very relevant. And I don't know at Ole Miss that you would be able to get Will Wade if everything were great, right? I mean, You're not picking up the phone and calling Will Wade at LSU Sweet 16 and going, "Hey, you want the Ole Miss job?" He'd be like, "You have the wrong number," and hang up. But right now, you probably could get him on the phone. And so that's your deal, right? And, there's a couple of coaches out there with completely different kinds of baggage. Chris Beard obviously did a fantastic job at Little Rock in his 1 year there. Look what he did at Texas Tech. He took them to the Elite Eight, took them to the national championship game, almost won a national championship in basketball in Lubbock, Texas. Yep. But there's real baggage there. And so, he just got arrested. Texas fired him with cause, basically in the letter to his attorney said, if you want to sue. I mean, so if you're Ole Miss and you're going down the Chris Beard thing, you're worried about what else is out there, what could happen. With Will Wade, that's not what you're worried about. You've got a federal wiretap that resulted in nothing, and an IARP investigation that, from all accounts, has gone nowhere. And you would know this better than I would, Hunt. But I mean, I think there are probably some people at LSU that wish they had taken a different tact with this, and Will Wade could still be the coach there today. But he's available, and you have an opportunity to get an elite recruiting coach at a place like this in an era when you can rebuild a roster overnight. You look around the country and people do it all the time. Like, we were just talking about Arkansas. I mean, that's a completely different roster this year in Fayetteville than the one that went to the Elite Eight the last 2 seasons. And they're pretty good. They're fun to watch. You look at Bruce Pearl. I mean, he's mastered the transfer portal. He's very good at recruiting. And I think there are a ton of similarities between Bruce Pearl and Will Wade in terms of their charisma, their marketability, the way that they get people excited, the way that they're able to recruit elite players. I think there are a ton of similarities. Ole Miss could have zero chance at getting Bruce Pearl to answer the phone. But again, I think they'd get Will Wade to answer it. If I'm them, I'm on the phone, and I've got to at least be convinced that he's going to get a lengthy show cause before I move on to somebody else.
From what you know of Keith Carter, he hadn't been in the big chair that long, but you obviously have been familiar with him for a little bit. Do you think that he would call Will Wade and or Chris Beard?
Yeah, I think Honey has to, and I think he knows that. I think as it pertains to Chris Beard, there's going to be some real reluctance. And look, that's understandable. There's some Ole Miss people that are being super critical of that. But anybody, if they put themselves in Keith Carter's shoes, and it's his butt on the line, it's his reputation, and you get it. You get why there'd be hesitancy. I don't know how you can coach or be an AD in this league. Keith played basketball at Ole Miss at a time when Ole Miss went to the NCAA tournament, I think 3 times during his 4-year playing career. You couldn't convince me that he would do this search without really digging deep into Will Wade, and that would include having a conversation with Will Wade.
Be very, very interesting. I personally, as an LSU guy, it's in my bones to dislike Ole Miss. But if they got Mike Bianco, Will Wade, and Lane Kiffin, that's going to be really difficult for me because I like all 3 of those guys a lot. It's tough on me, but we'll see what the result of that search will be.
Well, you mentioned Lane Kiffin. There were a lot of people, Hunt, that pushed back when they hired Lane Kiffin. They're like, "What are you doing?" And Lane Kiffin has really worked here. Not only have they won, but here's the big thing: you're in a league where, at a place like Ole Miss, it's easy to be irrelevant because of the powers that are in this league. I mean, Alabama and Georgia and LSU and now Texas and Oklahoma. And this is a big boy league, as you guys know. And it can be easy to be overlooked at Ole Miss or Mississippi State or South Carolina or Arkansas or whatever. And Lane Kiffin has made Ole Miss, even when they lose, he's made them a pretty big part of the national conversation.
Last one here, Neil. We appreciate your time here on this busy Friday. LSU does play Ole Miss tomorrow in Oxford. Your expectation on energy level from the team and the pavilion? It's a big baseball weekend. There ought to be some people in Oxford. Any of them going to go to the game?
I mean, it's the battle for 13th place.
It is.
Who's not excited for that? I mean, the winner of this game will be in 13th. Listen, I'm going to tell you why I'm interested in this game. Because if Ole Miss wins it, that game on Wednesday night in Nashville is a 6:00 game. I could get my work done in time to go out and grab a drink. If Ole Miss loses, Ole Miss is playing the 8:30 game on Wednesday night, which is a killer. So I never get accused. Everybody here accuses me of hating Ole Miss, and they always accuse me of cheering against Ole Miss, and they call me a hater and stuff. But on this particular Saturday, I mean, it's probably my best interest for Ole Miss to beat LSU. But in terms of expectations, I don't have any. I mean, the conversation is obviously going to be about Kermit Davis and what happens moving forward. And in terms of energy level, I will just say that there will be plenty of good tickets available.
Tell you all the time that I try to keep my tabs on the rest of the league to try to do this show on a daily basis. Neil McCready and Chase Parham do an awesome job over at Rebel Grove, and I catch a lot of their podcasts over on YouTube, the Oxford X1 podcast. So, Neil, appreciate your time. Enjoy the weekend.
Hey, thank you. Same to you. Bye.
Is Neil McCready, GrevelGrove.com. I mean that when I say it. Like, if Ole Miss has Lane Kiffin, Will Wade, and Mike Bianco as their 3 head coaches, I like all 3 of those guys. That is not what I signed up for here. I need someone who's very dislikable over at Ole Miss, and I have trouble if it's those 3 guys. It's our Citizens Bank poll question of the day. How will you feel if Ole Miss hires Will Wade? We'll get to that in the next segment. The Tigers have evened the score over in Round Rock. 3 consecutive singles for LSU, including an RBI knock by Brady Neal, left on left. Really good swing there. So LSU has evened that score at 1 in the bottom of the second. We'll get you one more update here as we go to break. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Stop on by on Government Street going through the drive-thru, or dine in that beautiful, newly renovated, comfortable dining room over at Cork's. Bringing you our Friday shows here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. How awesome would your home be if you had a brand new bathroom? Gorgeously new, renovated bathroom, functions better, looks better. One Bath and Closets can do it for you. David Duvall and his team have been in the game for 30 years doing it. Maybe it's a full-scale renovation. And if it is, they're a licensed contractor. They can do it. You just make one call. You don't have to call 4 different people to handle different parts of your bathroom. One Bath and Closets will do the entire thing. And I can promise you this. They're not going to come back 3 weeks later after it's all done and say, oh, yeah, that wasn't done right. Let's go ahead and do it. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Maybe it's that full-scale renovation. Maybe it's a tub-to-shower conversion. And they can help you with your closet as well. Cubbies, shelves, racks, mirrors, baskets, the whole lot. They can customize a closet to your exact wardrobe and needs. One Bath and Closets is your one-stop shop. You can head to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Tell them Hunt Palmer Show sent you. On the closets, won't charge you for the rip out of your old closet, won't charge you for the labor to install the new one. One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus 2-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR.
In Saturday at 1 p.m. as the Baylor Bears host the Texas Longhorns. Then Saturday night, the Philadelphia 76ers host the Boston Celtics at 7:30. And Sunday, the Milwaukee Bucks host the Phoenix Suns at noon. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm guessing you, the listener, have not spent a lot of time going through fried seafood drive-thrus down here in South Louisiana, seafood capital of the world. Makes a lot of sense. Got to try Corks. Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. It's fantastic. It's folks that brought Chakuyon's Barbecue over there in Port Allen, as well as their location here in Baton Rouge. Go by and get you the 4-piece fish platter. Just $12.99. Comes with crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, hush puppies, honey butter roll, and your choice of sauce. You can get a 15-shrimp platter, Gulf shrimp, battered and fried. Comes with those crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, hush puppies, honey butter roll, and your choice of sauce. It's Lent. It's Friday. Let's try to avoid meat. They got you covered over there at Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's on Government between Jefferson and Foster. Got some awesome sauces. They got the Cork sauce, tartar, cocktail, remoulade, ketchup. They got shrimp po' boys, fish po' boys. They got a 3-piece fish and 15 shrimp platter for you. And I'm telling you, when you go through, get the beignet bites. Delicious sweet dessert. The Palmers are having Corks for dinner tonight. Can't wait to drive through. You can also dine in. Gorgeously new, renovated dining space. Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, bringing you our show each and every Friday. 1-1 LSU and Kansas State as they play on in the top of the third inning. Going to get you our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. How would you feel if Ole Miss hired Will Wade? Your options were angry, jealous, or indifferent. It's pretty much split. 29% say they'd be angry if Ole Miss hired Will Wade. 35% say they'd be jealous, and 36% say they'd be indifferent to the hire. I think it would be fascinating. I think it would be a great hire for Ole Miss, obviously. I am hopeful they go in a different direction. I'm curious to see if Chris Beard, charge has been dropped over there, if he gets a phone call, and if Will Wade does. At this point, got to see what the NCAA is going to do. But if you talk to people in Baton Rouge, you talk to Neil McCready in Oxford, Mississippi, it becomes increasingly more common to hear people say, yeah, this IRP investigation into Will Wade and LSU is not really going anywhere, and I don't think anything's going to happen. And that's great for LSU as a basketball program, but if Will Wade's back in the league, that's not great if you're LSU, because he is probably going to win wherever it is that he does go. All right, Taylor Sharp, let's finish things off with some take it or leave it.
Yeah, let's knock it out. Major League MLB Network ranked the top 100 players in baseball. Shohei Ohtani took the top spot. Take it or leave it.
I will take it for sure.
I'll take it.
Shohei Ohtani, to me, is the best player in Major League Baseball. He is the most talented player in Major League Baseball. He may be the most talented player to ever play Major League Baseball. I don't think that is a stretch. We have not seen anyone play both ways to this degree. Yeah, Micah Owings was a really good hitter who pitched. It was a pitcher who was a really good hitter for a pitcher, but not necessarily an above league average hitter. In fact, a well below average league hitter. You saw, Michael Lorenzen from the Reds, who played some outfield and pitched as well and threw 97 miles an hour, but was probably below league average at hitting and pitching. Shohei Ohtani is above league average at both. He started the All-Star game and hit third. That's absurd. And for him to have the power numbers that he does, the strikeout numbers that he does, he is elite at both, which is something that I've never seen, and this game has not seen really ever. I mean, Babe Ruth did pitch. I don't know that he was a good pitcher. He was certainly above league average, but Ohtani's one of the best in the game. I'm all for it. I think Mike Trout's phenomenal. Mookie Betts is fantastic. Bryce Harper's a great player. There's plenty of really good ones. Ohtani's above them all.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has reported that some teams have a first-round grade on Anthony Richardson, and some have a fourth-round grade. Richardson is a fourth-rounder. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, that sounds right to me. That mock draft that had him going first,
that had to be a joke, right?
No, because if you still look at the quarterback position the way you did 20 years ago, you're a dinosaur and you don't get it. But this is too far in the other direction. Anthony Richardson did not show almost at any point this year that he was capable of winning the game through the air. It's just an athletic freak show at all times, and that's too far. Like, a quarterback who's very athletic that plays from the pocket is great. A freak athlete who might be able to do some work from the pocket is not it. And Richardson's release is not very good. I didn't think his passing statistics were great. I know that there were some issues with Florida, and they weren't as talented as they have been. And this, to me, I watched way too much of him last year with an inept offense to want to sink a first-round pick into him. I get the measurables and stuff. That's a bridge too far for me.
All right, last one. Reports have surfaced that Russell Wilson wanted Pete Carroll fired before his exit from Seattle. The Seahawks made the right move, choosing Pete Carroll over Wilson. Take it or leave it.
Look, I'll take it. I think Russell Wilson kind of had overstayed his welcome there. Not that Carroll's going to be there a lot longer. I don't think the Seahawks are going to be awesome anytime soon. So I don't think there's a slam dunk correct choice. I don't think either was going to lead to any great things. I think Russell Wilson's on a little bit of a decline, and Pete Carroll's obviously getting way up there in age for a head coach. But I can't deal with Russell Wilson right now. There's just too much. Is anyone around in Russell Wilson's corner besides Sierra and Brett Bielema? I think those are the two in Russell Wilson's corner at this
Probably
point.
Rodgers. They're probably friends.
Well, this guy, it's just too much for me. Both are just too much for my liking at this point. So there's your take it or leave it. I'm gonna do a little play-by-play here for the next 20 seconds on LSU baseball, just because I can. Paul Skenes on the bump. 1-1 is your score in the top of the third with one out. Kansas State at the dish with a runner on first base. 2-2 the count. Skenes kicks and fires. Called strike three with a breaking ball. Paul Skenes gets a punch out. That is the second out of the inning there in Round Rock. 1-1 is your score in that one. That's fun, doing a little play-by-play there. Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Come on by there for dinner. We appreciate them for jumping on our Friday shows. If you missed anything, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Google, Spotify. Anywhere you get your sound, you can find us. We previewed the weekend in Round Rock over the first 30 minutes of the show. Got you ready for the SEC baseball weekends that are to come. Some Pelicans talk at the end of hour number one. LSU and Ole Miss preview, SEC Hoops preview, and then Neil McCready of Rebel Grove talking about the possibility of Will Wade maybe headed to Oxford, Mississippi. So if you want to catch it on demand, you certainly can. That's it for me. I'm going to go watch some baseball, enjoy my weekend. Hopefully you do the same. Matt Musso going to sit in Matt's chair one more time or after further review coming right up. Enjoy your weekend. We're back same time, same place on Monday. It is The Hunt Palmer Show.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit. We get it done with passion for our fans and love for our community. We are the Tigers. Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.